And we're back for the very last session of today. So this one is a little bit different. This is carving your own L&D career with Luke Westwood, moved from this morning. Unfortunately, due to some work commitments, Luke is unable to join us live, but very kindly, he has recorded his session for us. So I'm going to play that now and then open it up for discussion after the video has finished. Without further ado, I will, in a kind of weird digital futuristic way, hand over to Luke.
Safety, compliance training, ethics and independence. Not exactly the subjects or careers we thought we'd be as a child. But so often, these are the type of subjects and the content we work on when we join this exciting world of L&D. We come into this industry because it's creative, it's exciting, and it's something new that we want to do as a career. But we work on content day in, day out, which is often dull, uninspiring, unengaging, and to be honest, just boring. Of course, they have a place in the world and they're important for business, but as creatives, like so many of us are, and people that want to progress in our career, which is why you're here, we work on the content which we just don't find engaging. And actually, I believe this has a real impact on the work that we do. When we're not engaged and we're not excited by the work that we're doing, we actually lose motivation. We lose motivation to do what we do, and we forget why we joined the industry. It can even leave us to question why we joined this industry in the first place. I know that's where I was about a year ago. 5 years into my career, I was starting to question why on earth I was doing what I was doing. Working at large corporate companies, making the same type of content year in, year out, day in, day out, and just really not enjoying. And also, a lot of the time, I wouldn't even understand what I was working on. It was made in English, written in English, but a lot of the content was just so complex and so difficult to understand, whether that was working in professional services, in finance, or in the military, with military companies. And I just didn't understand what I was actually working on and creating. And that can really have a real impact as well, because that impacts your confidence and it makes you feel like you don't understand or you're not good enough for what you're doing. And the whole imposter syndrome cycle continues, and it just has a real impact to the work we do. So today I want to talk about how to go from being in that place of being completely, for me, what was burnt out, I was stressed out, I just didn't know what I was doing, I was a complete mess in my career, physically, mentally, and where I am now, which is where recently I've joined a mental health wellbeing startup. I'm joined as a learning manager. I'm building up their e-learning from scratch. I'm building up their LMS from scratch, the learning platform. I'm creating the learning culture inside the company for our clients as well. And it's a dream come true. Many of you know, if you follow me on LinkedIn, how passionate I am about mental health and mental health awareness, but in particular, the education side of mental health awareness, actually increasing our education and our knowledge. And I believe the steps I took to get where I am today, I can give those to you as well. And I really want you to take the time to think about where you want to be in your career, maybe 6 months, maybe a year, and just really have some time to focus. If you're like where I was about a year ago, and it was even worse as I was leaving the company as well, a few months ago before I left where I was before, I was so burnt out, I was so stressed. And when the opportunity came to where I am now, it was a godsend. It was the dream I'd been waiting for so long. So I hope this talk helps, and I hope it gives you some ideas on where to go and how to take your career to the next level and actually combine your passions. We hear a lot about doing the work you love, combine your passion with your work, find the career of your dreams. But sometimes we think that doesn't really exist or that can't be true. But actually, now I've done it, I understand it. And believe me, I never used to exist it. I used to hate the word passion. I used to really hate it. I thought, oh, it's just a social media word. It's a motivational talk thing that people give. But when you find that connection with what you love and what you're doing in your career, and you combine the two, it completely changes how you see your career. Like now, before I would be dreading working on the laptop, logging on every morning, and even affecting my sleep. I was so stressed out in the evenings, or I just wasn't enjoying what I was doing. But now I'm excited every morning. I'm proud about what I do. I'm excited to tell people what I do. Whereas before, I'm sure you can relate to this, that you're embarrassed about saying, oh, I work in e-learning or I work in compliance training. People's eye roll over and you just see the look of dread as you talk about what you do. So we're going to talk about 3 things and 3 approaches that I took to get to where I am today. And I hope you enjoy. And if you have any questions after this, please feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm sorry I can't be there today for the actual live event itself, but I'm sure you're learning so much from everyone involved. And I can't wait to hear about how the event went. So how did I get to where I am today? What were the steps that I took to get to where I was, from where being burnt out, really hating what I was doing, to where now I'm in the dream role? Well, the first step of 3 is to take a step back and think about what you want to be doing and what content you want to be working day to day. This is your career. This isn't about what the market needs and what is actually needed from them, but actually what you want to do. Of course, there needs to be a need for it, but actually we need to be selfish at times in life. I feel it's important that we actually take the time to really focus on what we want to be doing. This content is difficult stuff, whether you're a designer, developer, animator, or creative. In the learning world, we're working on some really complex and really tricky things to actually get a message across visually. So I really want you to take time, and this won't happen overnight either. I want you to spend weeks, a few months, really thinking about what content would get me up in the morning. If I have to wake up early, if I have to stay up late for a presentation in the evening, what will actually make me want to do it? What's going to get me out of bed? And what's going to make me really excited and passionate? And when I talk to people and talk to my friends about it, what difference are they going to see in my face and how I talk about my career? And you don't have to stick with compliance training. This is one thing I really want to talk about. And I'm not bashing compliance training just because I didn't like it. If that works for you, that's absolutely fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And of course, they're important for business, they're important for the industry, but I think there's another way we can do this as well. And I don't want you to get to a point where I was, that you're just so fed up and you want to leave. So take some time, really think about where you want to be in the industry in the next 12 months. And I say 12 months to a year because that's a really nice round number. And it also gives you time to think about the things you're going to need to do. You're going to need to tailor your portfolio. You're going to need to niche down. You're going to need to network. You're going to need to get involved in projects in the industry. You're going to have to start building your reputation in the industry. Even if you're not in that particular sector of the e-learning space yet, you can still write about it. You can still do things to make your profile stand out from the other people who apply for those jobs in the market that you want to go into. So I advise you, talk to your friends, talk to your family, try and actually meet people in the industry as well. Just be open to them, I'm interested in joining this sector in my learning field. I do know some about it, I have some excitement, or I think I really enjoy it. But what is it like? Actually talk to someone. It could be as simple as a message on LinkedIn. And you don't have to be aggressive, you don't have to be really like a salesperson, but you can just make it casual, really polite, just really friendly, and say, would you mind just talking about what you're doing? Now, some people won't reply, which is absolutely fine. Don't take that personally. People are busy, people have got their own lives to lead, and sometimes they just might not see it, or if they do, they just forget about it. So find people that you want to message, that are doing what you want to do, reach out to them. You'll be amazed at how polite and how willing people are to give information and to give advice to help people to get to where they are. They know what it's like. They know what it's like starting as a new person. So really take that first step. Think about what you want to do, and just think about what you don't want to do as well. There's no point going through this exercise where you're thinking about one thing and then you go back to the old ways of working. You go back to the old trap of falling into what you don't want to do. Have a list, what I'd love, what I hate to work on, and really focus on those as well. It's really important. So that's the first step. The first step is thinking about where you want to be in the next 12 months. Where do you see yourself? What type of company? What type of people you're working around? How big is your team? Type of clients you're working around as well. And that's all going to influence how you feel about your job. And what do you feel most comfortable in? What do you enjoy? And what do you just feel most confident working on as well? Like I said in my introduction, when you work on content that you don't really understand or you don't really know what's even they're talking about, it has a huge impact on your confidence. So take those first steps, write it down in a notepad, talk to your friends, and just spend some time thinking about where you want to be in the next 12 months. So what next? You heard me say there are 3 steps to this process. Well, number 2 is your portfolio. And I know you're probably sick to death about hearing about portfolios and how powerful they are and what they can do for your career. But believe me, as someone who's now in a managing role where I'm hiring freelancers and I'm bringing them onto my team, I understand what people were talking about. Before, I was never in the hiring seat. I was never looking through portfolios or looking through people's portfolio and seeing what they can do. But now that I'm doing that for my team and bringing up for the work I'm doing, I understand. And if you've got a portfolio that looks like just like everyone else's, then it gets really difficult from our end to actually see who's actually doing great work. And the people who stand out are the people who specialize. People who specialize, who do great work, whether that's design or development, make really complex interactions, or they make great visual design, or they niche down and choose a subject that's really great for them. That's a really good fit, whether that be well-being, like it was to me. It might be cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is a huge market at the moment. There's always people that need in cybersecurity. And there's so many other markets as well, like I said earlier. So don't be afraid to niche down or specialize down into your portfolio and really go deep into a subject. Some people might say you need to be broad as possible, but I disagree. Once you're at a certain point in your career, after a few years of doing the general work, I think that's the right time to actually start realizing where you want to go next. Because like I said, if you carry on doing what you're doing, you're going to be fed up and you might even leave. When the simple solution could have been to specialize in a field that you find so exciting, so invigorating, that you can put it into your portfolio and it will come across and it will just make it so much easier for the people hiring as well. When the right opportunity comes along at a company that's in the area that you want to work in, they'll be able to tell in an instant that this is what you want to do. The opportunity might not come around straight away. It might take a few months. And that's why I say take 6 to 12 months maybe, because the opportunities aren't always there and they're not always visible to see it straight away. That's where networking comes in. That's where meeting people in the industries that you want to work in comes in. So the portfolio is a huge part of this process. And you can look online at portfolio reviews that you see online on YouTube. So many people doing great work with portfolios on YouTube and helping people out and giving away free content. So don't be afraid to specialize down and really go niche on those subjects. The next point I want to make about portfolios now is that it's so easy to do. There are so many websites, free, paid, complex, easy, that you can go to and get your portfolio made, whether that's complex websites like WordPress or Webflow, where it's really custom web development, or you go an easier route, maybe it's like Google Sites or Wix. And there's nothing wrong with the easy ones either. If it gets your work out there and it's easy for you to do and it looks professional, that's what matters. For me, I went down the WordPress route just because I'm used to websites. I'm used to creating websites, but I use the templates on WordPress. I don't develop it from scratch. I buy a template, use it, and that's how I do my portfolios. And that's how I've always done it. And when we look at portfolios, it's really important we think about the main objective of a portfolio. For me, in the way I see it, the portfolio is another way just to get you an interview. The portfolio isn't to get you the job. It's a way to support your CV or resume to actually help you get into the interview stage. As you're applying, sending out your resume, CV, you send your portfolio, maybe a cover letter. These are all stages to get you through to that interview stage. That's when you come across. That's when you can actually go through your portfolio, explain your portfolio. And when you show your passion and your love of the subject that you specialize down in, that's going to really shine through as well. It makes interviewing so much easier. When I had my wellbeing interview for where I am now, it was so much easier because I built my portfolio and I could say, this is the type of content that I know you're looking for, and this is the type of content that I can build. And it's all similar stuff that they were looking for, which I could bring and that now that I'm doing for them every day. So don't be afraid to specialize. I know it can be scary. I know some people say you might be turning people away. Well, that's a good thing. You want to be turning people away who aren't serious, who want just someone else who can do something else generally. But when you're a specialist, it makes you look better, you feel better, and it makes your interview process so much easier. So now we're on the third stage of this process. We've decided where we want to be in a year's time. We've focused on the subject. We've specialized down where we want to be. We've also tailored our resume. We've tailored our portfolio to match the industry we want to go into. We're matching the brand and the look and feel of the sector we want to go into to match our portfolio. And now it's time to start being known in the sector we want to go into. So for me, this was mental health awareness. It's all about well-being and helping people with their mental health. So for me, this took the form of a few things. The first was to start creating content, writing on LinkedIn. I've always enjoyed writing. So LinkedIn and writing was my main go-to content way to really get myself known, start posting things about my mental health, about sharing stories, about sharing insights into the industry. and also being networking on LinkedIn as well. LinkedIn is huge. If you're not on LinkedIn yet and you're looking for a job, it is so important that you're there. A lot of people don't like LinkedIn, but a lot of people don't understand it as well. They use it wrong. They use it as a sales tool in a really hard sales way, even when looking for jobs, but that's not the right way to go around it. So what I did, like I say, I posted content, I posted articles, I reshared people's articles. And when you reshare articles, comment on the people that you're sharing as well. Say why you're resharing, share your thoughts and your opinions. It gets you known and it starts building up those warm relationships, even if you haven't met the person before. And after you do that a few times over a couple of weeks, then you can start adding people. That's a really nice way to do it. It's very relaxed, very casual, and it's an approach that I like to take. But other things I did as well, I went a bit more than that because I like writing. I got published in a book. Whilst I appreciate everyone can't do this, I had a connection who was bringing together a book of community authors, and we all wrote a chapter each, and I have my chapter published. I shared my story of well-being. And to have something like that in an interview is a huge, huge separator. It's a great talking point. You can show it in your interview. My interview was remotely on Zoom, much like this, but I had it on my desk and I put it on camera, and it was just a great way to show off what I'd been doing. Now, if you can't be involved in the book, the writing side or content is still just as powerful. Have your own website, have your own blog, post your blog post onto LinkedIn. Do a bit of both. Post directly onto LinkedIn, post on your website, and share your own articles. All of this makes it look like you're a content powerhouse and you're sharing your content, you're creating, and you just know your subject inside out. You're building authority in your subject, and which is what this is all about. Even if you're not directly in the subject or content field that you want to be in yet, you're building that knowledge, you're building of your own knowledge, but you're also sharing to people, I know how to create content, I know how to write, I'm passionate about this, and this is what I enjoy. And that's why I think this is so important. You're being proactive, you're not waiting for this to magically appear on your lap. Because when you go specialize and when you start to really focus on your career, it gets harder. There might not be as many opportunities at first because you're looking for that really special one, and it's your time to be fussy. We know employers are fussy about who they employ, but now it's time for you to be fussy about who you decide to work with. And that means it's going to take time. And that's where the 12 months come in, or to a year, really comes into play. It gives you that time. If you're working, this is a lot easier. Even if you're really hating where you are now and you're really struggling like I was in my last role, I still encourage you to stay. I know a year can sound like a long time, but it really is a lot easier to get a job when you're working and when you've had that time to build a portfolio, build the content, and have all these different pieces of the jigsaw puzzle in your interview. It's much easier to actually apply for a job and decide where you want to go when you're not desperate for work. And I appreciate that isn't always the case, and it isn't always easy to be as fussy as we want to be. But if you're in that situation where you can be, I really encourage you to take your time. Don't go for the first one. Really look around, see what's there, and just see what's going on in the industry. And this is all about being proactive. Networking is a huge part of the job hunt. You're applying to people on LinkedIn, you're requesting connections, and whilst you might not even talk to them at first, they will start seeing the content you post and that you're creating. And that creates a relationship with them. It might be a bit more of a passive relationship, but they're seeing what you're posting. You'll start being known in their network for people that content you're creating and what you're making online as well. And believe me, I'm not a video person. Video is quite difficult for me. So this is quite an achievement that I'm doing this as well. But I'm branching out. I'm trying new things. I'm getting more comfortable in the uncomfortable, as they say. And I'm really trying to push myself and doing new things. And again, video, we know how powerful it is. We know how powerful YouTube is. And LinkedIn is only doing more and more video. So I really encourage you, create content, be proactive, network, and lastly, attend industry events. Even if they're virtual networking events, it's really important that you start seeing who the big players are, who are the same people that go to these events that you'll see over and over again. And if you start doing it more often, you'll eventually get to meet those people as well. They'll see that you've been here before. You'll see that they've been there before, and that builds a relationship, that builds trust. And when they see your content, they see you at the events, they see you networking and engaging and show that you're really passionate, that's when the magic happens. And eventually, that's when the job offers can come in. And when you start applying for roles that pop up that look perfect, you've got everything, all of that under your belt, and you're ready to apply and giving yourself the best chance to be noticed and to be chosen by the employer for both the interview and hopefully the job offer. So as we're coming to the end of my session, I just want to wrap up and summarize what we've been looking at. So the first point of the 3 steps is to decide where you want to be in the next 12 months. Where would you want to be in 12 months' time, where you're excited about the work you're doing, you're working for a company that you're so proud of and you're so excited for, and you're proud to be involved in L&D and e-learning once again because you joined for a reason. You can get away from the dull, unengaging, uninspiring content which you just don't enjoy, and you focus in on a passion that you love. So that's step 1. Decide where you want to be. Spend time focusing on where you want to go. The second step is tailor your portfolio. Look at this next sector or industry that you want to go into. How are companies branding? What are the industry colors that people use? Where are they advertising? Have a look at the feel of what they're doing and mimic your portfolio to look like a business in that field. It's so important that you make it look like you're matching what you're doing to what the company's doing that you want to work for. It will just make the match so much easier. And the third and final piece, probably the most important, is being proactive, getting active in your network and getting those relationships built, people to know you, who you are. And when you start applying for those jobs, people can see that, oh, you've been doing this, you've been creating content, you've been going to the events, I've seen you here, I've seen you there. And that relationship will start to build. Start adding people on LinkedIn. Remember, be casual, don't be aggressive on LinkedIn, and don't get offended if anyone doesn't reply or doesn't accept. Just take it on the chin and go to the next one. And again, be nice, thank people, ask people for help, offer help as well. If they do give you anything, say thank you. Do you need anything? Is there anything I can help you with? But just be casual. No one likes anyone being desperate in an interview or sales call. So really enjoy the process as well. And lastly, I want to leave you with this. Don't give up. If you're really considering leaving the L&D space, maybe you've been in it for a long time, maybe you've only been in it for a few years, but you're ready to give up and try something different because it wasn't what you thought, I really encourage you to keep going. Give it another try, put a plan in place, and really try to get that next role where you're excited. You see people on LinkedIn who are really excited about what they do, and they've gone through probably a similar thing that I've gone through as well. They've gone through the hard stuff at the beginning of the general stuff, which is good to get experience. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you get to the point in your career where you really want to do something well and do something with a difference, that's when you take the point in your career to take control, and it's time for you to be fussy. There's so much space in this world of the L&D and e-learning and training. There's such a huge industry, and it's only growing. It's only getting bigger, and it's time that you take advantage of it. You go to where you want to be, and you put your career in control of you, and you start doing what you want to do. As we come to the end of my session now, I just want to say thank you so much to Tom for allowing me to speak. I'm so sorry I couldn't be there with you in person. Work has just been a bit crazy lately, but Tom was kindly gracious enough to allow me to record a video. And like I said earlier, video isn't my natural thing. I'm not a huge fan of being on camera. So this has been a learning curve for me as well. It's forced me to do something different. So this has been a great learning experience. And I hope you've learned something as well from my session as well. I know it's quite long, but I hope you've got some things you can take away from it. You've learned some things and you've got some actions to apply. And if you ever need any help, feel free to reach out to me. Please connect with me on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is my main social media channel, to be honest. I'm not really on Twitter. I have a few accounts on there, but I don't really use them. And I'm not anywhere else. So LinkedIn is the best place to get to me. And if you need any help, please reach out. Always happy here to help. I hope you're learning stuff from all the amazing speakers here as well today. A few of them I've worked in the industry already as well, and I see some recognizable faces that I know. So I'm sure they're sharing great content as always. And I just can't wait to be at the next event, share more that I've learned in the coming years. And I hope to see you soon. And thank you again. And I'll see you at the next.
Well, that was awesome. Really, really powerful stuff there from Luke, who I think, barring technical difficulties, perhaps is here with us.
Can you hear me?
We can, yes.
Fantastic. So, hi everyone. Sorry I couldn't be here live. I've just finished work, so thanks for letting me allow to do the video.
No, you're more than welcome. I think that you know what? It was such a wonderful message to finish the day on. Of all the things we could have rounded the day out on, that was really, really brilliant. If you're available, there are a few questions that I was going to kind of try and field them, but if you've got a minute, it would be great if you could answer them.
Yeah, sure, of course.
Cool. So I'll dive into these two that are in the Q&A first of all. For anyone else, if you've got any, now would be the time while Luke is with us. So here we've got one from Daphne. In fact, she's posted two questions. We'll do this one first. So I'm currently a public sector accountant. Lucky you. But I'm passionate about training and teaching, with experience teaching in schools and also training lawyers, social workers, etc. on systems. How can I gain opportunities into e-learning and instructional design?
Good question. I think that's where you take what you know already and maybe try some volunteering opportunities as well. I know opportunities, volunteering gets a bit of a bad name, but when you're just starting out, and again, the portfolio comes into play as well. I think that's a really good point. Self-initiated projects are really important. I think you were saying earlier, Tom, about portfolios. If you explain your process and why you're doing what you're doing, have some projects that are self-initiated. I'm happy to share my portfolio as well with you. If you want to get in touch with that, I can show you how I got through that. I wanted to get into the wellbeing space, but I had no experience in the wellbeing space. But I was able to mimic and create some content which was all about wellbeing. So I think self-initiated is really important. But feel free to get in touch, and happy to show you the route I took and how I went about it.
Just to add to that as well, if you're looking to gain experience, there is a charity group, or more a volunteering group called Design for Humanity. It's often represented as Design X Humanity, and they work on a whole range of kind of diversity and inclusion learning materials, but everyone that's part of that is a volunteer. So they welcome support. So that could be a great way of networking and practicing and developing your craft. But just as Luke was saying, I mean, as someone who I hire freelancers and people to do work for me and on other projects and within different businesses, I've totally hired people with absolutely no technically workplace experience, but that have demonstrated through a good portfolio that they can do it. I think, Luke, do tell me if you disagree or have a different view on it, but I'm far more, when I'm recruiting someone, I'm far more interested in, can you do the job well and are you passionate about it, than do you have 60 years experience doing it? Because to me, experience can be really good, but it can also mean you've not been fired yet. You've just clung on for that long.
Exactly. And experiences, sorry to cut you off, experiences, you can do the same thing for every day for 60 years without learning something new over 60 years. Absolutely. Or don't be doing what you're doing for 2 or 3 years, but maybe having more knowledge and innovation of that person doing it however long. So it comes down to just your approach. And I think we all get a bit stuck in the rut every now and then in our careers where we stop learning and innovating. But when we do that, it makes it a lot easier and you start learning. And like me being on camera, it's completely out of my comfort zone doing a video. So again, that's a chance to learn.
Absolutely. So the second one, which is kind of a bit of a logical follow-up, actually, do you have any industry events I can look out for and attend? At the moment, I've started attending ELN online events. That's an excellent move. I'll just jump in there. I am a massive fan of the ELN. They are the only in-person, when they have in-person events, they're the only ones that I actively say I enjoy going to, because no one tries to sell me stuff when I go there. It's great. I just go there and I meet other passionate learning people. And I think the Connect is happening this year, unless I'm mistaken. If there's anyone from the ELN here, please do shout at me if I'm spreading misinformation or fake news about the ELN. But I think the Connect is happening in like November. And it is, for me, it is the event of the year. Because you go there, there's not a big exhibition hall with people screaming at you and throwing cuddly toys and notebooks that you don't want at you. There's just loads of people there who are passionate and want to talk about learning and development. So that, for me, that is the event. But Luke, any that you really rate?
I think industry bodies are really good for those type of things. So in the UK, we have for professional development one called CIPD. In America, I think it's called ADT or ATD. You have to correct me on that.
ATD it is, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. So I think there's really big bodies and people are organising events like that. So I think that's always a good place to look out for. And if you're in a big city as well, that's always helpful. Maybe there's something local to you. But I think Google will be your best friend for that as well. And whatever interest you have particular, different industries, different sector will have their own events as well.
Awesome. Yeah, I can see it. We've got some stuff in the chat here. We've got oh cool. Jane's here. Brilliant. That's the perfect person to be talking about the announcement coming soon. And she shared the web address there. That is the membership that I maintain. The rest I don't particularly stand by, if I'm honest. And then brilliant. We've got some in there sharing some details about getting in touch with Design for Humanity as well. Look at that, aren't we a well-rounded crowd? Awesome. Correct me if I'm wrong, anyone. Learn Appeal. Yes, that's a very good point, Jane, actually. If you are looking to get some additional experience, Learn Appeal is always looking for volunteers, and their stuff is really cool.
And I think going back to that one about volunteering and experience, you've mentioned charities, but also NGOs as well, different types of charitable organisations, not just charities in the traditional sense. Maybe places don't have huge budgets, or they're trying to do something good with a mission, or maybe a startup that you believe in that's doing a really well mission thing, or just try and be creative. Charities are a great way to get volunteer experience, but there's lots of other places. I think it's really interesting to just reach out to and say, do you need help? Are you trying this? I think that's also like NGOs as well. It's another great idea.
Yeah, I think it's amazing. You said there the power of networking and LinkedIn in your session, and I think that's spot on. The number of, if you're passionate about something, you want to get involved, you want to learn how to do something by getting hands-on and doing it. There's no better way than to get in touch with people in the industry that you love what they do and say, look, you do what I want to do, or something akin to it. Is there any way we could do something together? Don't get me wrong, it's not always going to be a yes, but I totally did that when I was starting my career. And I think it's funny, when we first met, Luke, and you appeared on my podcast, I think we were both in a kind of similar place where we were a bit kind of lost in our respective L&D journeys. Because I think we were sort of talking about how maybe it's just not, maybe this isn't for us kind of thing.
Yeah,
which was weird. We just did a podcast about learning and development and all this, and afterwards going, maybe it's just not. It's not for me.
Yeah, we were both kind of talking about it in that chat, weren't we? And I remember that being my first podcast, and I was just nervous as hell doing it with you as well, which was quite funny at the same time. But yeah, we were both a bit lost, I think. I think I've seen you evolve, and you've seen me where I am now. We just kind of followed each other, which is nice to have as well.
That's it. Make those connections. Find people who, it doesn't matter whether you consider them to be, they wouldn't ever speak to me. Because that's the one thing I've found is our industry isn't really like that. There are people presenting it across these 2 days that I would never have thought would give me the time of day. They're people that I idolized when I joined the industry. And now they're just like, yeah, that'd be awesome. Thanks so much. It's kind of like, well, don't say thank you to me. This industry is, I think, one of the most generous and giving industries out there. People do genuinely want to help. And I think a large part of that is that none of us get paid enough to be nasty to each other. It's more a case of, if you're in L&D, you're in it because you love it, not because you plan to be a millionaire this time next year, Rodney. For anyone left in the UK watching. Cool. So let's just have a little look. Really great point there from Barry. Learning Guild in the USA have really good events. They do. Yes. Sadly, their in-person ones are way too far away to go to, but their online events are phenomenal. They really, really are. Cool. I think that's all the questions answered. So I mean that this is the end of the last session of day one. So I know a lot of people have already logged off because it's late in the day. But Luke, I want to say thank you so much for logging in after work just to field some questions there. It's really great to have you here. Thank you for making the time.
No, definitely. Thank you again for letting me come on. Like I said, this is my first industry talk type thing, so this is all very new to me. So yeah, thank you so much.
You did an amazing job. That was a fantastic video and a fantastic topic to round out the day. Just to save doing a separate close down and backup for no reason, the closeout session is really just an opportunity to say, look, thank you so much for attending today. And I want to say a really massive thank you for everyone who at the start of the day, I kind of said, look, if you want to support us, subscribe, join the Discord, check out Patreon and buy us a beer in the IDT store. And people have. So thank you so much. If you've ordered a hoodie or a t-shirt, I hope you enjoy it. If you've made a donation, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And if you've joined the Discord, please get active on there. You can help shape all the future events. I'll be posting stuff on there this week. Obviously, there's tomorrow for a start, but there is already plans in motions for a second 2-day IDX event towards the end of the year. We're also talking about much smaller events on a more regular basis. We're looking at potentially like a instructional design competition at the start of next year for people to get involved in, with sort of like community voting and things like that. So we're really open to ideas so that you can shape what these events look like in future. But thank you so much for being here today. I hope you all found value in the sessions. And for those of you who are attending tomorrow, I will see you then. For those of you who aren't, all the recordings will be on YouTube, and you are always more than welcome.